Hey, Scott, did you bring your glow stick?
No, but I feel like I'm at a U2 concert.
All right. Waiting for Bono to hit the stage.
With or without you.
You ready to talk a little baseball?
I am. I'm old, but I'm dialed in.
You're scrappy.
That's right.
Scrappy.
Scrappy Doo. Hey, can I, before we do baseball, there's something that just happened the last couple of days, and, sometimes you can take the man out of the nursing home, but you can't take the nursing home out of the man. I get it that the NBA sees 1.2 billion people in China that all want to buy somebody's jersey and that they'll shell out money to watch exhibition games and get excited about the NBA, doing their little camps over there and everything, in exchange for flat noodles or whatever it might be. But
You can't beat a good flat noodle.
this Daryl Morey deal, for simply tweeting out "Fight for Freedom" to the people in Hong Kong, was his timing great? No. The fact that's so funny about this to me is that the NBA immediately took China's side on this in terms of just the Chinese communists, that, he shouldn't have said it, we agree, we apologize. The NBA actually apologized for the tweet, "Fight for Freedom" to the people of Hong Kong. And then, when they saw the backlash that was coming, then said, we don't agree with what he said, because nobody should be fighting for freedom, apparently, but we agree with his right to say it. I hate it when the NBA or any other entity tries to play both sides. How about simply coming out, Adam Silver, and saying, and I think somebody may have started this conversation this way, there's 1.2 billion people in China, and all of them have wallets or purses, and we want what's in them. And that's why we're not going to say anything about Hong Kong, and we're not going to upset the Chi-Coms, and we'll probably have some rough words to say to the general manager for tweeting "Fight for Freedom." I'm done.
It's even funnier because since Yao Ming, Houston has become the team for China.
Absolutely, the way the Thunder are for New Zealand, where there's just 1.2 people.
So, and do I disagree with what he said? I agree with you. The timing's probably not great.
No.
But if this is any other GM, it doesn't get blown up to this magnitude.
That's correct. It's one of those things where I don't necessarily, who isn't for freedom? For that's the first thing. Now you could say the Chi-Coms aren't, but within our world, within our realm, whether you're a GM for the Rockets or the general manager of an on-cue store or you own your own lawn company, who's not for freedom, right? So I don't know if there was a part of his personality that felt like now was the time to do that to some degree, almost like I'm trying to, I don't know that, but what bothers me isn't so much that, because he'll have to deal with the personal ramifications of that. It's like you and I have always said, you can say what you want. Like the Dixie Chicks came out and did that all those years ago, made fun of George Bush, and then they sold 4 albums after that. And they were all like, well, why can't you do that? Well, you can. You can do anything. You have the right to do it. I was just upset with the way the NBA just, played both sides of it. And I realized that to some degree they have to do that. But just come out. Did they really think we're all sitting here not understanding? Let me repeat this one more time. There's 1.2 billion people with a purse or a wallet, and Adam Silver wants what's in them.
We may have to expand upon. You just want to talk basketball this segment? We'll hit baseball next segment. We can do that.
Have I dribbled all over that segment?
You Euro stepped your way around it.
All right, well, let me see if I can fall away and let you pick up where I dropped the ball.
Not as hard as Lonzo and LaMelo and LeVar.
Yeah, I guess, is he getting sued now? Is there some issue, or he's in bankruptcy, or
Yeah, I didn't.
something's going on?
So he was, what do you want to call it? Laundering money, supposedly, to finance Big Baller Brand or something. I mean, it's
beautiful.
I don't even know what to say about the guy.
You know what it is? It's OSU Texas Tech.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Another dumpster fire.
Looks good on paper, then just dumpster fire. You know, so I fully understand there's different ways to parent your children, and however you want to do it, okay, right? I'm not going to speak upon how you raise your son. You're not going to speak on how I raise my son. I mean, you can have opportunities and lessons that you learn along the way, but even his son at this point has kind of disowned him. Like, it is to that extent of, okay, Dad, like, back off. Like,
By the
back
way,
off.
I know how that feels, and your time's coming. But go
All
ahead.
right. Hey, as long as you get a job, you're good. So it's, and this is a weird transition, but I mean, he's got to know, because to me it seems it's a publicity grab for him, and he just wants to be that celebrity. Hey, I can go out there and beat Michael Jordan. Okay, fine, cool. We all thought that when we were a kid too.
Right.
But we don't say it now when we're 30 and Michael Jordan's 70 and still could crush us.
That's right.
Like, that
and
doesn't make,
him.
yeah, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But did you see any of the highlights of that game? Because there weren't very many, but there were a couple.
I did see a little bit. What I really enjoyed was watching Trae Young dribble the ball between
J.J. Redick.
J.J. Redick's legs on that play. Yeah. That was nice. And then I also come to a realization that this Zion young man might actually be able to eventually start in the NBA.
Yeah, if he's not starting day one, I don't know what the Pelicans are thinking. Oh, we're going to bring him along slow. No, you drafted this guy, number one, to put butts in seats from the fans, and because this guy's going to be pretty good.
And you better enjoy him the years you have him.
Oh, yeah.
Because as soon as that's up, he's going to L.A. or New York, or my guess would be Utah. No, one of the others.
What I hope is that he develops, and he's already proven that he can shoot it a little bit better than Blake Griffin. I think the big comparison for me with him is Blake Griffin, because that's who he reminds me of. He can put it down in the basket. He can dunk amazingly. He jumps out of the building. But develop a shot early, whether it be a 15-footer, an 18-footer, and finally work your way out to a three-point shot, because that's where the league is nowadays. But develop that shot, and he can hit a little bit. He's not as bad as Blake was coming out of OU, but develop that shot early. The chemistry around him, it seems like it's going to be pretty good. I like the interactions with J.J. Redick, of J.J. coming to him and go, 15 years, buddy, don't screw this up for me, about him making the playoffs every year.
Right.
I don't know, piece-wise.
Might be tough this first year on the West, though, man. I don't know.
I think you're going to see a lot of teams slide, though, too. I don't know that Sacramento is going to stay as consistent, because they've never proven to be consistent.
Vladdy Dottie, he loves to potty. He ain't bothering anybody.
I will say he's putting a good team and collection of players together. I just don't know. I've got to see it consistently year in and year out that they're improving. Normally with Sacramento, they play one good year and then they'll come back and they'll have a bomb of a second year. Minnesota can't figure this team out. This team should be a 5 seed for the past 3 years. Should have been like a 5 seed. Because of the amount of talent. You've got an unstoppable player down low in Karl Anthony Towns. You got Andrew Wiggins, who I'm not a fan of, but should be a superstar in this league, and he's not. He
is 4 times a year.
Yeah. He's realistically, if the teams were to really reevaluate Andrew Wiggins and not do the Gerald Green thing with where we're just going to keep adding him, because for the first, I don't know, 10 years, Gerald Green was terrible, but kind of understood it as he got older.
You know what he missed was the time that he could have had at OSU, because he committed to OSU and never played.
Yeah.
Just think.
But
I'm done.
Think about that team and what they've had. So you had Jeff Teague, Andrew Wiggins, you had Butler at one point. And even if you take Butler off that team, they should still be a solid team. You had Zachary until you traded him to, that they got from the 76ers, that they traded to the Suns, who could have been your stretch four.
Didn't you have Ricky? Point guard?
Yeah, you had, well, Rubio was like at the starting of all that.
Yeah.
Who now is with the Suns too. So if Minnesota makes a jump, it should be this year, but they just get in their own way for whatever reason. Denver could be scary. Yeah, I was gonna say it could be scary.
Didn't hurt to add to the roster what they did with Mr. Grant.
Yeah, and you get Michael Porter, who was your big time selection last year, who sat out all year. And what can he attribute? Because a lot of people thought he was going to be your star.
Yeah. Wow.
And could be the star of the draft and the steal of the draft. Pulls the Ben Simmons a la Joel Embiid of sitting out a year. Blake Griffin too. Will be a quote-unquote rookie, which is the dumbest thing I've ever heard of. But it's like week 0.
Yeah, it's weaker than week 0.
But if he can add anything to an already number 1 in the West team, they could be really scary and really fun to watch.
Pretty good in the middle too, man.
Yeah, they've kind of gone the Rams style of offense, right? They found a new way to involve
offense.
it. Yeah. You get the ball to Joker and let him play around and find guys. They don't have the shooting around him yet, because you've got Craig, who's a good energy player, but he doesn't shoot it consistently. Will Barton can light it up, but it just depends on the game that Will Barton plays in, because sometimes he's ice cold, sometimes he lights it up. But defensively, they're pretty good. They're long, they're athletic. They could be a team to watch out for.
Let me ask you a question, Bill. I think we've all been fascinated by, I've been a huge fan, not necessarily of the personalities or the team itself, but the style of play that Golden State has had.
Yeah.
And frankly, love Steph Curry. I would never, I think he's a quality guy in and out, off the floor and on the floor. And everybody enjoys that, right? And it's successful. We've seen how successful that is, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Then we go back in time to the triangle offense, which was its own entity, kind of like the old Mazda rotary engine. Other cars go one way and the Mazda goes So you had you had the triangle offense, right? And you needed key people to make that work.
Yeah.
Now you move forward and we talk about an offense that isn't necessarily groundbreaking, because there have been, with exceptional players in the past, the ability to use the post to run offenses through there. But it was usually with generational style talent in the post to be able to pull that off. And I mean being able to put somebody like Magic in the post, or a McHale at sometimes, people that are seeing the floor better. Okay, so all of that having been said, and understanding that those type of getting the ball and moving it around creates successful seasons. And in a lot of cases, championships. If you look at the triangle, if you look at what Golden State's done over the years.
Spurs do every single year.
Absolutely. Yep. Okay. Why then is everybody banking on 3 or 4 teams that have 2 superstars, and in almost every case, the ball stops with either one of those guys? Is the only time I've ever seen that actually work that I can think of right now was LeBron in Cleveland, and even that became enhanced once you had a guy like Irving for a short period of time that was willing to get the ball and move it around a little bit.
I was going to say, what about Kobe and Shaq?
I still think they had other talent around them to some degree, but the ball did stop with them. It's one of the
I
few.
think-
But look around,
Yeah.
Bill. Do you think Paul? You think that the Clippers? Because I'm not saying it won't happen, but it's interesting that the teams that we like and the styles that have been successful has been based on ball movement, not what the Thunder tried to do the last few years,
Right.
not what was happening. Frankly, I would say New Orleans gave it their best shot, even with Anthony only a spectator half the time.
Well,
I just don't know if
So you had
stagnant's going to work.
you had
Is it going to work in Houston? Is it going to work in either of the California, either of the LA teams?
I think it works with the Clippers because Kawhi Leonard showed last year, and Paul George has always shown it, that they may be two of the most unselfish superstars that's ever played the game of basketball, outside of even LeBron. LeBron's unselfish as can be. But
He gave me a Sprite.
it's it's going to be a different type of league. So you've gone from you've got to have 3 all-stars to win championships to now you just get 2 really good ones and put better pieces around them, which makes more sense because you got more cap room to play with. If you didn't watch the preseason game of the Lakers versus the Warriors, Anthony Davis is going to be a problem this year. It's always been, can he stay healthy? Anthony Davis, Draymond Green had no answers for Anthony Davis.
Bill, can they run the offense through him to some degree with the other people they've got in place there? Is that a possibility, or is he just a component of?
No, they're going to run the offense through Anthony Davis. I mean, LeBron is kind of fully committed to letting him be the man. The problem is always going to be with any team that has Rondo, which they had great chemistry, Rondo and Davis, just because they played together before in New Orleans, is any team that has Rondo, you can sag off Rondo. So having lineups where you bring in like Alex Caruso or you bring in another guy, maybe Caldwell Pope, and let LeBron run point, something that stretches it out. I love Rondo to death, but still, he's never been a great shooter. He can heat up occasionally, but they're going to sag off that. Now, whether that really affects Anthony Davis or LeBron, I doubt it, but it could. It could hurt when you start playing teams that are a lot longer, like the 76ers, who, well, now I can sag Ben Simmons down to help out, and that puts a little bit more frustration into Anthony Davis. But in a year where I think Draymond's going to flourish and just have a even more massive year than he's ever had, it also could expose a lot of weaknesses in his games and the ability of, well, you can't play small ball anymore because guess what? Davis is the guy you're guarding now, and he's, 6'10", almost 7 foot?
Yeah.
And good luck because he's just a super freak of athleticness.
He's like the Rick James of the NBA.
He's a super freaky.
Rajon Rondo's an interesting guy to me, Bill. He's a guy that I had issues with early on. I thought it was pretty mercurial. I thought he could kind of get out of control at times.
Yeah.
He goes to New Orleans and becomes what I think is a much more well-rounded player. Still highs and lows there. Is he now kind of a calming force, kind of the veteran guy out there that is almost glue?
Yeah, and he's kind of turned into that. I mean, he's still...
Which I think is awesome if that's the case.
Not get it twisted. He's still a little bit of a nut job, but he wants to win, and he knows what it takes to win.
Ron Artest-like?
A little bit.
Thanks.
But, the last question I'll have for you for this segment is, what about your man Taco Fall? I really hope they play him in games because you're not going to be able to stop him.
I'm looking forward to it. You're not going to be able to stop us either, Bill.
I hope not, unless you were trying to stick to a wall.
Stick-to-itiveness. We're working on it.
Excessive celebration on Crossover Sports, reminding you, always bring more tape.